Before we even get into the actual devotional, I just wanted to say this quick little thing. The Lord can speak to us in many different ways. There's four that came to my mind while preparing, which are: the Lord can speak to us through other people, the Lord can speak to us through signs, the Lord can speak to us through, well, the Lord can speak intrinsically through us, which means like he gives you an idea that's from him and not from us. But those can all be discerning. Like, you have to use a lot of discernment to make sure that what you see or what you thought or what you've heard is actually coming from the Lord. But the last one is the Lord speaks to us through his word, through the Bible. And I think as a follower of Christ, God's direct word will probably be the main one that he speaks to you through. So I just encourage you all to just be in your word, be reading the Bible, because God has something to say to you. With that out of the way, join me in flipping to 1 Kings chapter 10, where we see a story with King Solomon. And if you have read 1 Kings up to this point, or if you know a little bit about Solomon's, story up to this point, you would know that he inherited, or rather was given, a lot of wisdom by God. He's the most wise man on the planet, the wisest man on the planet. You would also know that he inherited the kingdom of Israel from his father David. So he's wise, and he is the king / ruler / in charge of the largest kingdom on the planet at the time. You will also know that he is rich and is very financially and materially successful, and has a lot of abundance and fortune, I guess you can say, which leads us to this story in chapter 10, where he receives a visitor, a queen from a different country, different kingdom. And I'll just go ahead and read from verses 1 to verse 9. I don't know how I'm going to hold my Bible and this microphone. Let's see. Verse 1. When the queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. Arriving at Jerusalem with a very great caravan, with camels carrying spices, large quantities of gold, and precious stones, she came to Solomon and talked with him about all that she had on her mind. Solomon answered all of her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. When the queen of Sheba saw all the wisdom of Solomon, and the palace he had built, the food on the table, the seating of his officials, the attending servants in their robes, his cupbearers, and the burnt offerings he made at the temple of the Lord, she was overwhelmed. Verse 6, she said to the king, "The report I had heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true, but I did not believe these things until I came and saw them with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth you have far exceeded the report I heard. How happy your people must be! How happy your officials who continually stand before you and hear your wisdom." Verse 9. Praise be to the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and placed you on the throne of Israel. Because the Lord's eternal love for Israel, he made you king to maintain justice and righteousness. When I first read this passage, I was instantly reminded and drawn back to a similar story that happens again to Solomon in chapter 5, where, just like we read now, another foreign ruler comes to Solomon and is just amazed by how God has blessed him, be it through wisdom, through material wealth, through his kingdom, etc. But what is so interesting is that the Queen of Sheba, and then I think it's the King of Tyre in chapter 5, one thing that they have in common is that they're foreigners. They're foreign rulers who do not believe in the Lord, who do not have a relationship with the Lord. They have their own pagan gods that they worship, I'm sure, but they're not Israelites. They did not follow Yahweh or the God of the Bible. And yet both of them, when they heard Solomon's wisdom, when they saw his wealth, when they saw the magnificence, I don't know, is that a word? I don't know, of his kingdom, they both had the same response. They were both in awe about how God, Yahweh, blessed Solomon. Even in the first verse, it says, when the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, when she heard about, the stories of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she felt so compelled by them to come and visit Solomon. And then in that last verse, verse 9, she says, "Praise be to the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and placed you on the throne of Israel. Because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel, he has made you king to maintain justice and righteousness." Let me read that first part again, verse 9. "Praise be to the Lord your God." She didn't even worship the God of Solomon or the God of David. And yet she's still here saying, praise be to Yahweh, praise be to God. See, Solomon is a flawed man with his own problems. He's had many ups and downs. He struggles with pride, and he struggles with lust, and he struggles with greed. And yet, when this woman hears about his relationship with the Lord, and yet when she sees how the Lord has worked through Solomon's life, she can't help but say, praise be to God. Similarly to Solomon, our lives, our testimonies, should be a reason for unbelievers to be drawn to God. Our lives should be a testimony of God's grace and a reason for unbelievers to be drawn to Him. And the simple reality, my friends, is that none of us are capable of living out a neutral testimony. And what I mean by that is your life is either going to point people to God or it's going to point people away from God. There's no in between. And my challenge this morning, well, for me it's night, but when you're watching this, my challenge to all of us is to ask ourselves, what type of display is our lives? Is our lives pointing people to Christ, or is our lives pointing people away from Christ? And I want us to really sit on that and pray on that. If somebody had the ability to watch you and the things that you do and your day-to-day routines, and would they walk away from watching your day-to-day life directed to Christ? What type of display is your life? I've heard this saying by multiple people many times, but the saying is that you and your life, but you may be the only Bible that people will ever read. And what that means is that we should be living out the gospel in a way that when people look into our lives, when people interact with us, they see Christ's love, they experience Christ's love, and they want to know more of Christ's love. I've interacted with people who've said this very thing. You may be the only Bible that people read. And then when I look into their life, when I look into the fruit of their labor, I can't even read a single verse. And my prayer is that that's not any of us. My prayer is that we all live lives on fire for Jesus, and that we all live lives that point non-believers, but also believers, closer to Christ. So as we go into this next week, be in the Word, and be in prayer, and be in reflection, asking yourself, if I'm being honest with myself, and if I'm being honest before God, what kind of display is my life? Does my life point people to Jesus, or does it not? Thank you, my friends. I'll see you guys at Drain Gang, or whenever I see you. Bye.